Whoa, that was a lot. How are we doing, everybody? Good, good.
What do you want to see out of the offense and then Saturday when you kind of finally get to somebody else?
I think it's just like any early season. You know, if you had a scrimmage or a preseason game, you're looking for operation, integrity, making sure that we can get in and out of the huddle, operate clearly in tough situations, and just look smooth, feel smooth, and make sure the operation piece is good for the guys.
Based on what you've seen so far, what do you feel like this offense is going to be able to really lean on and do best?
Man, that's a great question. I think there's still a lot to learn from that. I'm really encouraged in the last couple days here in our run game. Not necessarily, obviously, today. It was not a padded practice, but yesterday and then at times on Saturday, I felt like we were able to come together and start moving some people off the line of scrimmage, which was really encouraging. And obviously, that's something you want to be able to hang your hat on, is that you can establish a line of scrimmage, have a good run game, and set up the rest of your game plan.
Mike yesterday was mentioning Kenny McIntosh and George Alani being neck and neck at that third down back role.
Yeah.
What have you seen from those two players and the way that they are handling your offense and what you're looking for in that role?
Yeah, I think George has been a standout in general at camp. He's got a really, really physical style, and his contact balance is really good. He's picked up the offense very quickly. He's a bright kid. He has the ability to pass protect and be really firm on the inside, and then at the same time he has good hands outside. So I think George is a good fit. And then for Kenny, I think he's really progressed from this spring. It's good to see him in pads finally. Didn't really know what you had with him. But he's kind of more of a slasher, a guy out of the backfield to catch the ball. And I know we're really working hard to try to get his pass protection, up to snuff so he can be a little bit more physical in that.
What have you seen out of Ken Walker?
I was wondering, Jake Bobo is a good blocking receiver. How does that help you as a play caller?
Well, I think first and foremost it helps them as receivers. I think that when you're aggressive on the outside, it's hard for defenders to realize what you're doing when you come off the ball that quickly. And obviously for the play action, it's setting up, it feels the same, it looks the same to the defense, and all of a sudden you're running by them. So I think from our standpoint, obviously the blockers on the outside and setting up the play action game is pivotal.
What have you seen out of Ken Walker, and how would you describe his game?
Man, I think Ken grows every day. I think he gets better every single day. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he's a really, really talented, powerful back that's a true, three-tool guy. He's going to be able to run the ball every run you got. He's going to be able to catch the football. He's going to be able to pass protect. And I think he's growing. He was a natural runner. He knew what to do with the ball in his hand, and now, he's intelligent in the pass protection scheme. He works really hard at it, man. I think he's getting a lot better, and he's electric out of the backfield as a pass catcher.
You mentioned the operation on game day for a preseason game. Has that maybe elevated the importance for the coaching staff too? Because you guys haven't done this together. You're all kind of new doing this together.
Yeah, for sure. We got a little taste of that at Lumen on Saturday, but I think for sure when there's a little bit more of an element against another team, just some of the communication processes, and typically it's in the tight moments when clock's winding down and making sure we got the right personnel into quarters, into halves, things like that. So, luckily for us, we got a good veteran staff, guys that have been around a lot, and, it's pretty easy to communicate with those guys. I think we've already kind of worked out some of those kinks, but there'll be a lot more. We'll grow a ton as a staff in these 3 games.
Into installing what you want to do?
We're close. We're doing we're probably 70-80% there. I mean, I feel like the bones of everything we need to do are there. There's probably some of the finer details and some of the motions and movements and things like that you can add to some of the concepts that we already have in. So I feel like we got a lot of the basic structure. So now there's some of the fine tuning that still has to happen, some of the late game mechanics, situational football, things like that we have to continue to build.
Sam's going to get a lot of playing time Saturday, I would imagine.
Yeah.
What are the 4 days when Geno was out? How did that help him a little bit?
Oh, wow. I thought back to Sam, last fall camp when I was at Washington. Michael had a little bit of a scap strain, and I think he was out for close to 9 days. And in those 9 days, the growth that our 2 and 3 had was tremendous. And so those valuable reps you just can't replace those. And just thinking about all the situational football that we do put our guys in, our quarterbacks get a ton of work in the red zone and third down, things like that. So I think that what we saw with Sam was the ability to make plays, be a quick processor, and just have to refine the decision making.
In the few months you've been around And Geno now. What have you learned about him beyond what you could just see on film, watching his tape and all that?
Competitor. He's tough. He's a tough guy. In the moment, he wants to step up. And I think you don't know a guy until you start to work with him a little bit, but then you think about, some of the stats that Geno, more fourth quarter comebacks in the last 2 years than any quarterback. And I think he embodies that. Just like you put him up against a wall, you tell him he can't do something, and he's going to respond. He's definitely not going to back down to a challenge.
Your top three receivers, what have you kind of learned about those guys and how you feel like you may be able to best utilize them?
DK is really big and fast. He should be easy to find. Lockett's super savvy, knows how to find open coverage, and Jax is growing every single day. Is that good? That was close.
Talk a lot about innovative schemes and plays. Can you talk about what it takes to develop as a play caller?
Unfortunately, a little bit of trial and error, and all the way back to Kingsley Pearson. But I do think it takes time, and it takes rapport with both your staff and players. And I think it takes an ego-free environment. And sometimes you got to learn that the hard way and understand that there has to be a collaboration, right? Like there's a concept that we put in a couple days ago that I hadn't run, and Frizz had some experience with it, and it was awesome. It's been great for us. It's been a staple the last couple of days, and you just have to be okay realizing that best idea wins, doesn't matter who it is, and then be elite teachers, and I think that that's something that this staff can do really well.
Coach, you've worn many hats. Strength and conditioning coach,
Oh, man, I thought you
O-line
were talking
coach.
about my actual hat. I almost got in trouble, so you gave me a heart attack right there. This new era.
How have you seen those experiences help you today?
Well, I think, back to thinking about the strength and conditioning part, when you're a strength and conditioning coach or a special teams coach or a head coach, you get used to communicating and having relationships with the team and not just your guys or your room. And I always felt like that gave me an inside track on just the heartbeat of the team and being able to collaborate with players, bring them together, help the unifying process.
For your job personally, Ryan, what is being at this level? What makes it easier for you to do what you do, and what makes it harder? What's more of a challenge?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the obvious answer for the easier part is the amount of time that you have to focus on football and your team, like just the players that are here. I don't have to worry about anybody that we're trying to bring into this building. I'm just focused on our players here and the family that is the Seahawks. I think that part has been tremendously rewarding, just to be able to think about ball all the time, focus on football and building relationships with the players and the people that are part of the Seahawks. And that part has been really advantageous. So I think that's probably the biggest highlight. I think it's the same challenges you have with any offense. First time install, new faces, whether it's coaches or players. The translation piece, getting everybody on the same page, speaking the same language, and that's always the difficulty. And then having the patience and just the stick-to-itiveness to get through that part.
Help this process of the install?
It hasn't. He's a bum. No. I think very much. I think back to my time with Kalen, a lot of stops that we had. That I just think that when you're trying to help, because everybody wants to do a great job when you come together as a staff. And again, going back to getting everybody speaking the same language, when you have another person that's responsible for that much of the offense and pass protection, run scheme, things like that, getting that translation down for everybody else in the staff and be able to get this thing off the ground quickly and efficiently and the way you want it to is pivotal. So Huff's obviously been a huge part of that.
Ryan, what's your thoughts on your tight end group right now? I don't think we've actually about them a ton so far, but seems like all of them have different skill sets and different things they can bring to the table for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. They were a group that I pointed out in the offensive unit meeting today. We had some lulls in the week at the end of last week, and a couple times I really felt like the tight end group specifically was what lifted us out of that. Just their energy, they're communicating at a really, really high level, and just how you want it to look on film. Effort, finish, and just executing at a really high level, like knowing what they're – if I want to get something in, I talk to Coach Mack. He's like, it's in. We can get it in. Don't worry. We can do that with two tight ends on the field. And, just their openness to compete and have a really, really talented room and realize the competition is going on but still staying together. So just both how they've been playing and then the unity that they have within the room, I think, embodies what we want to have on the offense.
We've asked you what you've learned about guys.
What, since the process started when they came back in April, what have you wanted them to learn about you, and what do you think they have learned about you?
You know, I hope consistency. You know, I think one of the toughest things in any job is if you show up and you're working with people and you don't know what you're going to get. I think that's really difficult when you're trying to set high bars and have people, you know, chase edges, as Mike would say, and look for greatness. I think that if you're a different person and they don't know what to expect, I think that can be really hard to be demanding in that nature. So I hope they realize that I'm committed to the process and that I'm consistent. And, you know, just like I think some people have a misconception, honestly, about NFL players that, you know, relationships don't matter and that it's just business and money. And I promise you that relationships do matter. They're still human. You know, they're still guys that got feelings, and a lot of them got families, and that's a big part of it.
Ryan, with you and Scott, this being your first time in the NFL, how much is having Kennedy Polamalu, who has been a coordinator, play caller, running back coach, mostly college NFL level, how much is having him here really helped this acclimation period?
Yeah, I think KP always brings up, you know, anytime you got somebody like KP that has, you know, just a wealth of experience, you're going to be able to draw into that in a lot of different ways. And I think one of the things that KP brings that typically some of his best stuff isn't really to X's and O's, and he's had some great ideas, but just his mentorship in that room and throughout the staff meetings, and just he's very patient, slow to speak, and then when he does, he feels like, you know, he's got some information to draw back on, and I think those are invaluable.
How do you feel like your O-line is right now?
What's that?
How do you feel about where your O-line is right now?
We're getting there. We're getting there. I told John Snyder yesterday we might have 10 O-line coaches, but we're going to get that run game right. So I'm excited about them, man. They're starting to run off the ball a little bit the last couple of days and attack the line of scrimmage, and there's a little bit more of a unified front. Communication's been at a higher level, and especially the last couple practices. So I'm really hoping that we're really starting to set the right trend there. What's that? Yeah. Oh, they're doing great. They're doing great. It's exactly what you want. Two high operating guys that are battling it out for, you know, one of the most important positions on the offense. And, you know, we want that. We want high level competition. So they're both doing a great job. They're splitting reps. And I think it's making them both a lot better.
Third down was a challenge for the Seahawks last year, especially third and short. What are some things you're looking at to improve there this year?
Oh, man, there's a lot there. I think, you know, NFL, obviously one of the toughest parts is the third down packages. And I think that you just have to be sound in your edges and your gaps and understand where the problems are at. And luckily for us, we go against Mike every day and the defensive staff that's very creative. And it's fun going up against another really creative mind as far as how he puts people in different spots and, you know, works against tendencies and things like that. So we're trying to make ourselves bulletproof during this process.
How much is it having a guy like George
Fant with Abe kind of being out, but having a guy like George to rely on at that right tackle spot?
I thought it was a great move, you know, by the front office with John, just thinking about you need that great three tackle or a guy that's battling to start at tackle. And I think George's flexibility to play left and right, and the experience that he has. We played a lot of games in Houston, obviously, last year. He's got great presence in the room and in the locker room, so he's invaluable. We've been really, really lucky to have him.
Ryan, thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.